President Irfan Ali, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you.
Mr. President, you lead a country which by many measures has the fastest growing economy in the world. It is down to you to ensure that this massive windfall your country has is used wisely and fairly. Do you feel the pressure?
I don't think it's a pressure. It definitely is a challenge, but it is an opportunity. And to understand this growth and what it means for our country, I think you have to have an appreciation also from where we came and the type of difficulties we've overcome as a country to be where we are today. And that gives you an understanding as to the starting point. And the starting point for Guyana has never been oil and gas. We're a country that came through a very painful past, 28 years of dictatorship. We had democracy reinstalled in 1992. And then from then, we were the second poorest country in the hemisphere. Our debt to GDP ratio was insanely high. We were using 98 cents on every dollar to repay foreign debt. Without oil and gas, we managed to bring that down to 5 cents on every dollar in the repayment of foreign debt. And then, of course, we had challenges in the last elections when the last government, after losing the elections and losing a no confidence motion, took some time. It took some time to get them to accept the results and to have democracy maintain its position.
Yeah, and that actually for a while looked like it was going to be deeply problematic. There is a fragility to politics here, which we will discuss in a moment. But just to stick with this idea of the unbelievable transformation in your economy, in terms of your GDP, it's rising exponentially. 60% the year before last, 30% last year. No other country in the world is experiencing this. And it just seems to me that oil and gas and the revenues you're getting could overwhelm Guyana.
Well, I don't think it can overwhelm Guyana. What this new wealth is allowing us to do is to create a country that is competitive in all the areas that we have potential in. So, for example, Guyana has always been rich in natural resources. We have a lot of raw materials. We have tremendous arable lands and fresh water. We have never been able to be competitive for a number of reasons. The country lacked the infrastructure. Now we're fixing the infrastructure that is opening up new lands for housing, new lands for agriculture, integrating more Guyana with northern Brazil. So we're building a new highway to integrate northern Brazil. This gives us the possibility of developing a deep water port. So the build out of the country from an infrastructural standpoint, a social standpoint, and importantly, building a healthcare and education system that is second to none is what is important for us. Now, all of these investments are also critical for us to bring back the huge diaspora that migrated during the period of dictatorship.
All of those big ambitions you have depend on stability. And one of the problems you've got right now is that your enormous new wealth has stirred resentment in your neighbor, Venezuela, which has for long seen a territory, Essequibo, which is 2/3 of your landmass, as rightfully theirs. And Nicolas Maduro, president of Venezuela, is now saying he will take that land.
This land, Guyana, was settled in 1899. Our boundaries were settled. Venezuela participated in the settlement of the boundaries.
The Venezuelans say that was a colonial agreement, illegitimate, and it is indeed true to say that right now the International Court of Justice is considering the legitimacy of Venezuela's claim.
No. I'll come to what the ICJ is considering. In 1899, Venezuela accepted the boundaries. The country Venezuela accepted the boundaries. They even enacted local laws that accepted the boundaries. They participated with Guyana and Brazil in establishing the tri-marker point, in setting out the poles for this with the surveyors on the boundary. So Venezuela participated fully. When we were about to become independent, they raised a controversy. That controversy that they raised is what is before the ICJ.
With the greatest respect, we could spend the next hour talking about the International Court of Justice and the case, but I don't want to do that. I just want to talk about practical realities. The reality is that Maduro organized a referendum last year in Venezuela, which overwhelmingly backed the idea that Venezuela should reincorporate, or incorporate, as you would put it, this territory into the Venezuelan state. If that were to happen, you would lose your rights to drill and produce oil and gas offshore off the coast of Essequibo.
Well, first of all, we will not allow that to happen. And that is why we are before the ICJ, because we believe in the international rule of law. We are a peaceful country. We are a democratic country. We believe in regional stability, and we are before the ICJ.
Sure, but with the greatest respect, you're also a country with a military and security force of, what, 4,000 men at best. Venezuela can call upon 150,000 men.
I'm coming to that. So, but before that, I must establish the point that our first line of defense has always been diplomacy, and we respect the international law and the outcome of the court, the ICJ. However, we recognize that we are dealing with a neighbor that is aggressive, that has made certain threats, and we are investing in our military. We're investing in the technology of our military. We're investing in infrastructure. But more than that, we have aligned ourselves with countries and a region that is on the side of Guyana. The CARICOM as a region has issued statement in support of Guyana's sovereignty. The U.S. has issued statement in support of Guyana's sovereignty. The U.K. has issued statement in support of Guyana's sovereignty. France has issued statement in support of Guyana's sovereignty. Canada. So we are working on the basis of an international coalition that would not allow this region to be destabilized by any action by Venezuela to overrun our territorial integrity or our borders.
But have you seen the satellite imagery which shows that armored vehicles have gathered close to the border with Essequibo on the Venezuelan side, that they have armed coastal vessels, again, gathered close to your waters?
Well, what I'm saying is that we have made it very clear that if there is any breach in our territorial space, if there is any action by anyone to destabilize our country and to invade in any way, shape, or form, that we will call upon every force and every friend to help us and to work with us to protect our territorial integrity.
Let's talk about a different aspect of the oil and gas bonanza. Your relationship with the key oil corporation which undertook the exploration and undertakes much of the production, that is Exxon. They've been here from the very beginning.
Yes.
Why did Guyana give Exxon such an extraordinarily sweet deal, which gives them an unprecedented amount of economic gain from their work here?
Well, first of all, this agreement was made under the last government.
You have not changed it, Mr. President.
Yes, no, and I'm coming to that, because there is something called sanctity of contract. What message are we going to send to international investors if you have a contract and then you just change the contract? When Exxon came to Guyana to explore for oil, they came to explore for oil. There was no one said oil is here. They invested, they explored for oil. After they would have completed the exploration, they found oil. After they found oil, there's a production sharing agreement that was signed by the last government. An agreement that was signed by the last government.
You only get, if I may say so, and of course you only get 2% royalties. It's a 50% profit share after cost recovery. And the cost recovery, as I understand it, is going into the many billions of dollars already, i.e. Exxon is basically saying, we're not going to give you much of a share of this, because think about the vast expense we have had developing these oil fields.
I think that's totally a misconception. First of all, I'm agreeing with you that it was a bad deal. We have said this publicly. But we cannot move from a bad deal to a situation where you unilaterally change a contract.
Simple question. Is Guyana being exploited right now by Exxon?
I'll come to your
Simple
question.
question.
I wouldn't say that we're being exploited by Exxon. We signed an agreement as a country with Exxon. We cannot unilaterally change that agreement. What we committed ourselves to do as the new government is to ensure that no new PSA would have those similar terms. And we've already changed the PSA to be more balanced in terms of giving the country the best possible revenue, but more importantly, in ensuring that we don't also create a situation where investment in the sector is curtailed because of the PSA.
But Mr. President, I just want to be very straight with you. We're sitting here together, the two of us, in a luxury hotel in Georgetown, and outside this door there is a fancy conference expo in which many corporate leaders from big oil around the world are sniffing around the opportunities in your country. And at the very same time, we have a report from Global Witness, the anti-corruption people, saying that if a deal had been done with the more usual royalty and cost agreements like we've seen in other parts of the world, then Guyana would stand to gain another $50 billion from your oil and gas reserves, money you are not going to get. How can you tell the people of your own country, many of them living in poverty, that this deal that you are currently operating under to get the oil and gas out of the ground is a good deal for them?
Did I say it's a good deal? I said that the deal was heavily skewed to Exxon. We have said this publicly. You're not getting it. We have said that the deal was heavily skewed to Exxon. But we cannot unilaterally change the agreement that the last government signed.
Why not?
No. That will send a tremendous... It's like you asking me, it's like I asking you. You agree that slavery was bad and the greatest indignity to humankind. Why not pay reparation? Why not value reparation and pay reparation today? The tens of billions of dollars But
Mr. President, you don't allow slavery to continue just because there were certain contracts that were signed. You, as a politician, have made a great noise about demanding, for example, reparations for slavery from the United Kingdom. And yet here we are in a new era for an independent Guyana, where you're saying to me, you know what, it's true, we are being exploited. The extractive industries are exploiting our people. And you just sit here and you take it.
No, you are placing words that I've not said. I have not said that we're being exploited. I have said that the contract signed by the last government, the contract that was signed by the last government was heavily skewed to the investor. And we have said that. And I've said to you that as a new government, we cannot unilaterally change that contract.
It's not just, if I may say so, it's not just about the finances, the royalties, the expenses that Exxon demands. It's also about things like insurance. There's an extraordinary case last year in the Guyanan courts where the court decided that your own Environmental Protection Agency and Exxon had failed to provide the necessary guarantees that any oil spill would, in the end, be fully paid for in terms of cleanup by Exxon's parent company.
We have said, and what we are doing, what are we doing to address these issues? Right now, we are redrafting environmental laws to take care of this. Soon we'll have
You haven't taken care of it, even though the drilling is taking place every single day. If there was a massive oil spill tomorrow, can you tell your own people that Guyana, and indeed the rest of the Caribbean, would be fully recompensed by Exxon?
What I can say is that there are systems in place in the operations of Manuel, operations of Exxon to take care of this. There are systems in place.
Let's take a big picture look at what's going on here. Over the next decade, 2 decades, it is expected that there will be $150 billion worth of oil and gas extracted off your coast. It's an extraordinary figure, but think of it in practical terms. That means, according to many experts, more than 2 billion tons of carbon emissions will come from your seabed, from those reserves, and be released into the atmosphere. I don't know if you, as a head of state, went to the COP in Dubai.
Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. Do you know that Guyana has a forest forever that is the size of England and Scotland combined? a forest that stores 19.5 gigatons of carbon, a forest that we have kept alive, a forest that we have kept alive.
Does that give you the right? Does that give you the right to release all of this carbon?
Does that give you the right to lecture us on climate change? I am going to lecture you on climate change because we have kept this forest alive that stores 19.5 gigatons of carbon that you enjoy, that the world enjoy, that you don't pay us for, that you don't value, that you don't see a value in, that the people of Guyana has kept alive. Guess what? We have the lowest deforestation rate in the world. And guess what? Even with our greatest exploration of the oil and gas resource we have now, we will still be net zero. Guyana will still be net zero. With all our exploration, we'll still be net zero.
Powerful words, Mr. President. But
I'm not completed as yet. I am not finished as yet. I am just not finished as yet. Because this is the hypocrisy that exists in the world. The world in the last 50 years has lost 65% of all its biodiversity. We have kept our biodiversity. Are you valuing it? Are you ready to pay for it? When is the developed world going to pay for it? Or are you in the pockets? Are you in the pockets of those who have damaged the environment? Are you in the pockets, are you and your system in the pockets of those who destroyed the environment through the Industrial Revolution and now lecturing us? Are you in their pockets? Are you paid by them? Are you paid to keep their message alive? There is no hypocrisy in our position.
The Center for International Environmental Law has described the oil and gas production in Guyana as turning your country from, as you rightly put it, a carbon sink into a potential, quote, carbon bomb. Now, you may say you have every right to exploit that oil and gas.
That is ridiculous. We, even with exploring and production of all our resources, we are going to still be carbon neutral. We are still going to be carbon neutral.
Let me quote to you Greenpeace, who say quite simply, to avoid the worst impacts of climate change, and you know that your own country is one of the most vulnerable to climate change because most of your population lives below sea level.
And we have paid, guess what? Guess what? We have paid for the mitigation. We have paid for the adaptation. We are the ones who have to find revenue. No.
I want to continue. I haven't finished telling you what Greenpeace say.
Yes, but let me tell you.
Greenpeace say we need to keep the majority of the world's remaining fossil fuels in the ground.
Yeah, Greenpeace can say that.
You're not doing that.
Greenpeace and you can say that. But we need to get resources. And the developing world, we need to get resources to build the sea defenses. We need to get sea defenses to build a drainage and irrigation system. You just said that we're 6 feet below sea level. Who is going to pay for the infrastructure? Who is going to pay for the drainage and irrigation? Who is going to pay for the development and advancement of our country? Are you going to pay? It's not coming from anywhere. It's not coming from Greenpeace or anyone else. Look at the adaptation budget that is required for the developing world. Where is the money coming from?
Isn't there a cynicism here in Georgetown, best expressed by your vice president, who said recently, because there is this climate change imperative to decarbonize, our policy is to get as much oil out of the ground as quickly as possible. Now, he said, that's harsh for those who think that you should be environmentally sound, but that is the reality of it. Those were very honest words from your vice president.
And that is what we are, honest. We are practical.
So you're rushing to get this oil out before any deal is done, to quote Dubai COP, to transition away from oil and gas.
You can say we are rushing, but we are very practical. We have this natural resource, and we are going to aggressively pursue this natural resource because we have to develop our country. We are committed to the development of this region. We have to create the opportunity for our people because no one is bringing that for us. No one is bringing that for us. No one is paying our agenda. No one is paying our agenda.
A final thought about what this means inside your own country. Earlier on, I referred to the fact that 40% of the Guyanese population currently still lives in poverty. And according to U.S.A. from a recent report, Guyana's political instability, which we also referred to, raises concerns that the country is unprepared for its newfound wealth. The tremendous influx of money opens many avenues for corruption. How do you as president ensure that that doesn't happen?
So when we came into government, we said that there are a number of things that we must do. First of all, there must be an arm's length relationship with the oil revenue. So first, the Minister of Finance has to declare all the revenue that comes into the system. If he does not declare that, within 30 days, there's a 10-year mandatory jail term for the Minister of Finance. Secondly, any revenue that is spent from oil and gas must pass through the budgetary process. So it has to go through the Parliament. It has to be debated in the Parliament. It then comes into the system. It is then audited by the Auditor General at the end of what it was intended for. And then, of course, the investment decision is made by a committee that is arm's length away, an independent committee that is arm's length away from the government.
Yeah. Just a final thought on the politics. You described the tensions around the 2020 election. It was hotly disputed. I think it's fair to say that there's a clear sort of ethnic element to the politics of Guyana. Your party is predominantly Indo-Guyanese. The opposition...
We're the only national party.
Well, that's what you say. But
We're the
nonetheless...
When you go on the ground, and I invite you to our Congress, you will see the representation of party.
I refer to the opposition leader, Aubrey Norton, from the opposition National Congress.
So now you're saying that in the words of the opposition leader.
No, I want to pursue the words he recently said, where he said that given everything that your government is doing with the oil money, to quote him, a one-party state is emerging in Guyana. There are fears that the money you have access to is entrenching your political supremacy.
Well, first of all, let me address an issue. You have to give me a few moments. The ethnic division of this country was instigated by external forces. You are aware of this. It was instigated by external forces. We have to accept that. This is part of your legacy. Part of your legacy is this, that you divided the people. We have been working aggressively on bringing back the people together. My agenda is a one Guyana agenda, and I want to see all of Guyana prosper, and prosperity comes to every single home. So our political party is a national political party. And to win the elections, you have to win more than 50% of the vote. There is no one ethnic group that is 50% in this country. If you look at the ethnic breakdown of the country, for a political party to win the elections, and we are one political party, we have to win from all ethnic groups. We have to win from all segments. So we are pursuing a political strategy that brings our people together, that unify our people, and that works towards bringing prosperity to every single home. That is a strategy that we are pursuing. And that is the only strategy we are interested in.
A final thought, because we're almost out of time, and it comes from Frederick Collins, who's the director of Transparency International in Guyana. And it's in a sense, it's the reworking of an old idea, because he says oil can still end up being more of a curse than a blessing to the Guyanese people. Are you sure that that won't happen?
We intend for it not only to be a blessing, but for it to be an important tool in the transformation of our society, in the building of a prosperous Guyana and a sustainable Guyana. For us, this revenue, this stream of revenue, offers us the opportunity to diversify our economy and to create a country that can finally fulfill all of its potential.
But it's one heck of a responsibility on you.
I'm ready to take that responsibility and to fulfill that responsibility, more importantly.
President Irfan Ali.
Excellencies, if it is, we all agree on ending and preventing wars. If it is, we all agree that the Security Council requires reform. If it is, we all agree that the international financial system is unfair and unjust to the developing world. And if it is, we all believe in climate, food, and energy security, then what is stopping us from acting? We will all be doomed in the court of conscience for knowing what is right while ignoring what is wrong. Madam President, of the myriad of challenges confronting our world, climate change threatens our very existence, adversely affecting development across all countries. Rising sea levels and temperatures, severe natural disasters, and shifting and extreme weather patterns disrupt agriculture and food security, threaten water supply, and displaced communities. These impacts are particularly devastating for small island developing states. Each year, we make the annual pilgrimage to COP, filled with hope for tangible outcomes. And each year, we are regaled and renewed unkept promises are the order of the day. This cycle of hope, followed by disappointment, cannot continue if the Sustainable Development Goals are to be met. We must break free from this pattern of empty pledges. We must unequivocally and immediately fulfill all pledges for the sake of our planet and the future of all its inhabitants. Let me tell you about my country, Guyana, a country that is 83,000 square miles, 86% of which is tropical forests. Guyana has the second highest percentage forest cover on Earth and one of the lowest deforestation rates. Our forest stores 19.5 gigatons of carbon and sequesters more than 153 million tons annually. According to WWF, Guyana is one of the world's most important countries for biodiversity density. It straddles two of the richest biodiversity zones, the Guyana Shield and the Amazon. As a country, we are dedicated to the preservation of this vital global asset. I especially salute the indigenous peoples of Guyana, the Amerindians, who are the foremost stewards of this great natural heritage. We recognize their leadership, and 15% of all revenues earned from carbon sales are directly transferred to our indigenous communities. Madam President, even with our newfound natural resource, oil and gas, it would require less than 20% of sequestered carbon to offset our emissions at maximum output. We have preserved our biodiversity and know its value. We believe it is only fair and just that this global asset be monetized in a fair carbon market. Today, I am pleased to announce the launch of a global biodiversity alliance. We will convene the first Global Biodiversity Alliance Summit in 2025, which will focus on creating a market for biodiversity credits, scaling biodiversity conservation debt swaps, accelerating biodiversity bonds, establishing a blueprint for biodiversity taxonomies, and promoting nature-positive action. We do not make this announcement by mere words. Guyana is also committed to doubling its protected areas by December 2025 and achieving the global biodiversity target of 30% by 2030. These are real solutions that Guyana is putting forward to address the global problem of biodiversity loss. We do not lecture, we lead by example without arrogance. Madam President, according to the UN Food Security and Nutrition Report, in 2023, an estimated 28.9% of the global population, 2.3 billion people, were moderately or severely food insecure. The primary causes were conflict and insecurity, extreme weather events, including those related to El Nino and climate change, and economic shocks. To effectively address food insecurity, we must take more concerted action to address its root causes. reducing conflict, mitigating climate change, and enhancing food production and trade in food commodities. By prioritizing peace and climate action, we can create environments where food systems, crops, and livelihoods are not threatened by conflict and weather extremes. In turn, enhancing food production and ensuring fair and efficient trade in food commodities can reduce food insecurity. So too can the full involvement of women and youth. In Guyana's National Agricultural Strategy and Policy, at least 35% of our agro-businesses will be owned by women and 60% by young people. While I've spoken of food insecurity, the global malnutrition rates are also alarming and must be addressed. Nutritious, safe, and sufficient food are crucial to a healthy population. Madam President, the United Nations must continue to be a beacon of hope amidst a turbulent global environment. The theme of this year's assembly, and I quote, "Leaving no one behind, acting together for the advancement of peace, sustainable development, and human dignity for present and future generations," end of quote, resonates with the vision set out in the United Nations Charter. This vision demands decisive action and enlightened multilateralism. Today, we find ourselves in a world where the quest for peace is met with a defiant echo of conflict, where the promise of sustainable development is eclipsed by the dangerous specter of climate change and food insecurity, and where the dignity of millions of people is trampled upon with impunity. In Ukraine, the sovereignty and territorial integrity of a nation are being violated. Yet, decisive action by the United Nations Security Council remains fettered by the veto. Justice demands that we defend the territorial integrity of all states, large, small, powerful, and weak. Equally concerning is the conflict in Sudan, which rages on with devastating consequences for the people of that country, including famine and mass displacement. This conflict will continue to undermine efforts to achieve lasting peace and sustainable development. This assembly must also condemn the continued oppression and persecution by the Taliban of women and girls in Afghanistan, who face not just lack of access to education and restrictions on their movements, but now even their voices cannot be heard in public. Closer to my home, CARICOM has been actively supporting a Haitian-led process for the restoration of democracy, peace, and stability in Haiti. We welcome the deployment of the UN-authorized multinational security support mission led by Kenya as a crucial step towards stabilizing the security situation. We call on the international community to urgently scale up financing for the MSS and secure its renewed authorization so that the mission can succeed. We must also address the dire humanitarian situation where almost half of Haiti's population suffer from acute hunger, mass displacement, and women and girls are enduring brutal violence, including sexual violence. Guyana is leading CARICOM's effort in mobilizing humanitarian effort and support for Haiti. Excellencies, I'll be reaching out to you for your support. We must stay the course with our Haitian brothers and sisters in their quest for durable peace and sustainable development. The people of Haiti deserve nothing less. Madam President, peace, stability, and safety are no more imperiled than in Gaza. Guyana reiterates its strong condemnation of the October 7 attacks by Hamas on Israel. However, the collective punishment of an entire population, including the indiscriminate slaughter of civilians, most of whom are women and children, has long gone beyond the realm of self-defense. As the world watches on helplessly, Israel continues to flout its international obligations, including the orders of the ICJ and successive Security Council resolutions. Instead, the right of self-defense is being used as a weapon of mass extermination, stoking legitimate fears of genocide. No state, large or small, should feel comfortable and safe when such atrocities are allowed to continue with impunity. The war in Gaza must end now. We reiterate our demand for an immediate ceasefire and the release of all hostages and Palestinians illegally detained. Madam President, for more than 75 years, the Palestinian people have been denied their right of self-determination. We must advance the two-state solution, as this remains the only viable option for a future where Palestinians and Israelis live in peace and security. Turning to our brothers and sisters in Cuba, their right to development continues to be stymied by the economic embargo. Guyana renews its call for revocation of the embargo and the removal of Cuba from the list of state sponsors of terrorism. Madam President, the United Nations has a special responsibility for the security of small states. Small states look to multilateralism and the rule of international law to protect them from foreign aggression. Guyana is a small state that has had to contend with aggression from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela for all 58 years of our nationhood. International law and its strict application have been our armor and our shield in our determination to protect ourselves from this aggression. We remind this august assembly that the border between Guyana and Venezuela was fully, finally, and perfectly settled in an 1899 award by an international tribunal. Venezuela was fully represented in that tribunal, whose award it proclaimed in its own Congress and welcomed for more than 6 decades. Before reopening the issue on the eve of Guyana's independence, claiming 2/3 of our territory. This controversy, initiated by Venezuela, was submitted by Guyana to the International Court of Justice in accordance with the decision of the United Nations Secretary General and consistent with our position to settle this matter by legal and peaceful means. In 2023, in light of intensified acts of aggression by Venezuela, the ICJ issued provisional measures stating that, and I quote, pending a final decision in the case, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela shall refrain from taking any action which would modify the situation that currently prevails in the territory in dispute, whereby the Cooperative Republic of Guyana administers and exercises control over the area, end of quote. After years of refusing to participate in the proceedings of the ICJ and stating that it does not recognize the jurisdiction of the court, the Venezuelan government has now submitted a counter memorial to Guyana's submission. We welcome Venezuela's decision to participate in the court's proceedings and express the hope that Venezuela will accept the decision of the court, as Guyana has long pledged to do. I reaffirm Guyana's unwavering commitment to a peaceful resolution of this long-standing controversy in full conformity with international law and the principles set forth in the United Nations Charter. Madam President, peace, development, and human rights are pillars of the United Nations. We all aspire for a form of multilateralism that is equitable, inclusive, and ensures that no one is left behind. Women's participation in leadership in private and public sectors are integral to this. There is a growing movement in the developing world calling for the democratization of global political and economic relations. The disproportionate concentration of power favors a few powerful nations, whilst marginalizing the voices and concern of the broader international community. Developing countries are justly demanding more inclusive and representative decision-making processes in institutions and organs such as the UN Security Council, the World Bank, and the IMF. The World Trade Organization must also be reformed to ensure fairer trade for developing countries. These reforms must go beyond fair representation and ensure that the policies and practices of these institutions align with the developmental needs and aspirations of all countries. In the emerging global order, we must ensure the United Nations remains at the forefront of global governance. If multilateralism is to trump unilateralism, the UN's role as the world's foremost multilateral organization is pivotal. With the necessary resources and resolve, the UN can ensure a future of peace, sustainable development, and human dignity. The future we seek, a future where no one is left behind, demands courageous action. The UN must fulfill its role as a custodian of greater global peace, the foremost promoter of sustainable development, and an unflinching protector of human rights, human dignity, and international law. And since the UN is all of us, this body of nations, this is a collective responsibility for us all. Let us not be found wanting. Let us act together for the advancement of peace, for the achievement of sustainable development, and the preservation of human dignity, now and for generations to come. I thank you.
Hi guys, I'm B-Boy. Welcome back once again to my YouTube channel. Remember, if it was for the first time you come across my video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share. Okay guys, in today's clip is all about the president of Guyana, Arif Mohamed, and he's known as he's one of the best current president in Caribbean because of how it really leads these people. Is the one kind of a president who doesn't know to misuse the taxpayer money, and so far so good. He has been ranked among the top performing or doing well in the Caribbean among the president. And Guyana president, he has really came out and he has really won a lot of countries, a lot of presidents who are maybe are really trying maybe to misuse the resources of Caribbean or some resources of Africa. We all know Guyana they have really improved a lot. This president, he has really improved a lot to make sure that his people, they have got jobs. He has really made sure that the country has good infrastructure, there is good hospitals, good school, and he's really talking about these things that are really affecting a lot of people in other countries of Caribbean. And he has really come out and talked to those Western countries that are just there to misuse some country or some resources of the Caribbean countries. And he's truly sending a warning message to all those Western countries, because we all know a lot of problems that are really affecting our countries, maybe climate change. We all know climate change is usually caused by human being through burning of maybe gases that going to air to maybe produce some gases that usually come and affect our climate change. You know, all those hurricanes that are really happening in the Caribbean, especially in Jamaica, they are not because of maybe natural disaster. These are things that are done through man-made, and we can maybe avoid these things by maybe educating people and avoiding maybe burning of gases that are going into the air. And he has really come out and warned some other Western countries that are coming to Caribbean to misuse the resources of Caribbean, maybe like a country like Jamaica, Guyana, all those countries whereby there's a lot of Western or white people going to these countries, and they are really taking advantage of these countries whereby they buy some public sectors and make it to private sectors, like something like beaches. They go and buy maybe some private beaches, public beaches, and they put it into private beaches, whereby the people who will suffer are the local people who are in there. If these local people were these public beaches, they were providing with them maybe something to put for the table. Especially, we all know there's a lot of fishermen in Caribbean, and if some fishermen, they are maybe fishing at some place, and maybe the government turn into or it sell it to some Western people or to some white people, and they make it private sectors, it really affect them because they can't go and fish in there, because they put there some rules whereby you can't just go there, and it's really affecting a lot of people. Look at in Caribbean. In Caribbean, there is a lot of Chinese who have been invaded in this country, and they are really building their own building in there. They are really buying lands. And one question that I would really like just to ask, that is any there black person who can go to Western countries or maybe to China and purchase a large piece of land and maybe build their hospital, build their anything that can maybe favor those people in there? It's really difficult. But these people, when they come to our countries, they just want to do whatever they are. Currently, there was a war, and there's still war that's really happening in Haiti, and we all know what's really happening in Haiti. They are saying that there are some people, or there are some Western countries maybe who they really know what's really going on. But what's really happening in Haiti, we all know Haiti is one of the Caribbean countries, and it's not good. A lot of people, they are really dying. These people, they don't have job opportunities. It's sad to see young children being raped, women being raped. These people, they are being disposed everywhere, and it's not a good thing. We really like all the Caribbean countries to come together to unite, so that at least they can stop this war that's still going in Haiti, because these people, they are just fighting because they feel like their resources are being misused. This is the one of the country people who have came out and said that they feel like their resources are being misused by other countries. This is the reason why maybe they are fighting. They just want to have the full independence. And I would really like these people just to negotiate with these people, or to negotiate with the government, because killing is not a solution to solving this whole problem. Because if they can agree, maybe they can start owning their own resources. We can come like to Africa, country like Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. They came out, like country like Burkina Faso. The president is the youngest president in Africa, and is President Ibrahim Traore. He really came out and said and told those and removed all colonial system in his country. He told Frank, pack your things and go home. And these are the things we really want our Caribbean leaders, African leaders to copy notes from President Ibrahim Traore, because we want our countries to have the full independence. We want our country to enjoy their full independence. We want our country to run all the natural resources, but not to be led by other people outside there or by other Western countries. Because you all know, if it's not for Africa or Caribbean, also these Western countries, they really need us. As much as we need them, they also need us when it's come to resources, or when it's come to maybe natural resources like something like gold, oil, crude oil. They need to take it from Africa or Caribbean countries. So, President of Guyana is one kind of a president who has been ranked performing good in among the countries in the Caribbean. Is that one kind of a country that is that one kind of a president who really makes sure that those people who are really using, he really know how to use the taxpayer money in the Caribbean. He really know how to make his people to believe in him. He really know how to make his people have good jobs, have good hospital, good educational system. And these are the things we really want our leaders to do. These are the things we really want our leaders to make sure a country has. We want our leaders to wake up from their comfort zone, to see what's really happening in the current world. Because if they will continue depending on maybe on these Western countries for support, there's no anywhere our own country will develop. If you have some certain problem, you go and maybe borrow money from these Western countries. Yeah, they really help us a lot, but when the problem starts, when it's come to maybe repaying the debt, because the country will just increase the taxes and it will affect the local people. So guys, let us do what is right and not forget to pray to God to guide us, to elect a better leaders who will really lead us in this world. So guys, if it was for the first time you come across my video, don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share. Thank you so much for your time. One love.